Now that we have the initial setup of our categories done, we can move on to the next initial setup piece. At the top here are some options. You won't use many of these options. One that you will use often is Tools, and then Preferences, and then the Preference box comes up with many different tabs. We are going to click on the Grading tab, and since the district is moving to standards-based grading, we don't need letter grades, percent, or points earned, and then down here uncheck letter grades and percent, and hit OK. Now we're able to begin entering assignments, but before we do that, I want you to double check which class you have selected, because when we begin entering assignments, you're going to need to attach standards to an assignment, and the district has it set up so only the standards that match ELA will be in your reading class, only writing standards will be in your writing class, science standards, and so on and so on. So we want to make sure if we're entering a reading assignment that we're in our reading class so that the ELA standards pop up. And I'll show you what that looks like. So make sure that you have your reading class selected, and we can begin entering assignments. So if we go over here, we can hit the plus sign, and it will add an assignment, and the new assignment box will pop up. There's 3 tabs inside of this new assignment box. We are going to start with assignment, and this is where we put in the general information for the assignment. So since let's say I want to do a reading assessment, I'm going to call this the cause and effect assessment. And then I tab over and it automatically gives me an abbreviation, but it's the maximum characters allowed, so it's still a pretty long name. So I might enter in my own abbreviated name for it. So I'm going to do C&E assessment. Then we choose the category that we want this assignment to be under. And I'm going to put it under assessment. If you notice, right now it has 100 points possible because I don't have a category selected. Once I select the category that I want it to be under, it should change back to 0 if you have done your category setup correctly. You should have set up all your categories to have 0 points possible as the default. If you select your category and it pops up with points possible, then you need to go back and change those settings on your categories. So otherwise it should be 0. Score type, leave it as points. The system still needs something selected, so we'll just leave it as points. Date due, you can click on this calendar icon and make a due date for it and include in final grades. This is where you would put a short description of what the assignment's about, because parents are able to check these assignments and they'll probably want to know what the assessment or assignment was for. So you can be as descriptive or as broad as you want. So I'm just going to say this assessment measured the students' understanding of the cause and effect text structure. And I'm going to hit save because I want to save often, making sure I don't make any mistakes or lose any work. So I click to the next tab, Publish, and we already set up publishing settings for our categories. So once you set it up for your categories, this should show up like how you set up your category, but sometimes you want a specific assignment within a category to have a different publishing setting. So this is where you could change that. If you want it to immediately publish, you can leave it as immediately. Let's say this is an assessment that's going to take you a while to grade, so you don't want the parents to see it. You know, let's say you've only entered 4 or 5 grades and they go on and their kid's grade is missing, whereas so-and-so's grade is in. You could change it to due dates or by a specific date or never, and then until you're ready to enter in all the grades at once, or all the grades have been entered, you could turn it back to publish. So we'll just leave it as immediately and leave the publish scores box checked. We can save. And this is the really important tab that as we shift to standard-based grading. Notice on this tab all of the ELA standards for 5th grade pop up, so I can assign them to this assessment based on what it's measuring. So it starts with the standards for reading of literature, and you can scroll down, and since this is about nonfiction text, I can go into reading informational text and select which standards I think go with the assessment. So I would say probably determine main idea of text, maybe domain specific words, and maybe compare the structure of events. So I've selected 3. You can select as many as you want, but you at least need 1 standard attached. And then hit save. And you'll notice that a little S has popped up here, and I will explain how that works in the next video.